In fact, I would like to thank Dr. Tedeschi, Hector, and Daniel for my presence here today, and the European Association of Animal Production and the American Association of Animal Science for the support and for inviting here. We will make an hands-on on modeling feedback loops and related to system dynamics, and I'm presenting, but I'll share this work with Dr. Bushra Tamer-Balkan, which is system dynamics engineers that will be working in our group, and Dr. Ben Turner from Texas A&M University that we developed together the model. Just to few slides of introduction about system dynamics and modeling. The objective of this course will be to present an example of system dynamic modeling using a herd pasture case, and to familiarize with Vensim, and well, to convince yourself that modeling is already in our mind. Socrates used to say this many times ago, and you will find this in many papers on neuroscience. And after this, modeling is just something related with languages, so tool and techniques. So we start with the first part of modeling. Probably how many of you work with modeling or system dynamics modeling? As part of the audience work with dynamic modeling? And so we know that modeling is a mental routine which we describe the reality in a simplified manner. And but if we focus to a generic file and the variables we have in a generic file, we can imagine a cloud of variables. And actually, the main research is based on focusing a single relationship within one dependent variable and independent variable. So we run trials from maybe reproduction and how they affect milk delivery, so animal welfare, how they affect profitability. And we develop simple relationship. And most of the models are developed with an empirical approach. And but what happens if we want to connect each variable, all the variables at the time? So we have to focus on which kind of modeling type and which kind of purposes we have in the model. In particular, we know that there are too many types of mathematical models. The empirical one, which can be described as a black box, and they go from input to output without describe the system. And if we go and focus that the dynamic part of this model, they include historical series and forecasting. Whereas in the type of in the mechanistic type of modeling, we have a set of equations that from input to output and to describe the system, and they are identified as transparent models or white box models, and they have more purposes of understanding. And if the relationship and the system description is made without feedbacks, we can have dynamic system. Whereas if we have also feedback loops, the variables, we have complex system. We can have description of complex system, and it includes system dynamics models. But the title of the hands-on was related to the implication for sustainability. Which kind of modeling is as a better purpose for sustainability? The modeling purpose is the key in choosing the model paradigm. In this sense, if we want to forecast and to have precision estimates of future trends and behavior, we will probably go in empirical approach, okay? Because And black models can be even useful and can have high, even including stochastic variables in the prediction variables. We can have good prediction of future trends. But if we want to approach the system with targets of management and system understanding, so we need to have model paradigms that are more related with white box models. And in particular, if we want to have scenarios in a change of condition. In this sense, if we take a relationship between, for example, temperature or THI and milk yield, we can have simple relationship that can help us to predict how much milk we will lose with increasing of temperature, but these models cannot advise on how to solve the problem. It's similar for many other regression, or even with application of artificial intelligence, which can be also defined as with a similar approach than black box models. But if we want to approach with managerial targets like adaptation to climate change, then we need to model the causality of the interactions between the system elements and approach the system understanding and description of studying and description of complexity. So from this point, the approach with the system dynamics modeling, it has been cited this morning, and the system dynamics modeling is a specific approach that was developed for system understanding, and it is based on the modeling of feedback interaction, causality, and interdependence among variables. I think this figure is one of the most descriptive images of complexity. If we want to model this system, we do not aim to describe the roles, but we have to focus on the interaction among the roles in order to study the system and to predict what will happen in the system. So, in terms of feedbacks, which is the core of the system dynamics, we have two main kinds of feedbacks: the reinforcing feedbacks, in which all the variables relate with a positive correlation among them, but with a specific causal direction. So if we have, for example, more cows, we will have in the future more cows, then we have more aphid, more cows, more aphid, and we will drive exponential growth. And it has high implication for the sustainability of the future system, as we will see. And then we have balancing loops in which the multiplication of the correlation among the system variables will end as with a negative sign. So just to make an example, if we have more intake, we will have more energy supply, then we will feel more society, and we will have less intake. But with less intake, we will have less energy supply, we will have less society, and we will go to have more intake. So we'll balance the system, and we'll go to generating this kind of behavior, which is more sustainable in terms of future, in terms of biological system in respect to exponential growth. So when time is in the x-axis, the feedback loops drive what is the future behavior, and with combination of several feedback loops, positive, negative feedback loops, reinforcing and balancing, we can have the combination of all the patterns we can have in our data. So what we will do today is an exercise of a closed loop thinking and of an herb and grass pasture that has to interact among them. So we will have two populations. One is the animal population, and then the land which produces the pasture. The pasture will affect itself, and the herd we will grow with an internal feedback, and we will have the future trends. For this, we will work with Vensim, suppose you all have downloaded Vensim from the website. Yes. Did you have problem installing Vensim on the computer? No. How many of you already worked with Vensim? Okay. And I would like to thank Hector because he will help if somebody more information. So Vensim is basically a whiteboard in which we can develop and write and draw our mental models using which is called the hydraulic metaphor. So identifying the stocks in a system and the flows that affect and influence the stock. The stocks only can change through their flow. So each arrow can reach the arrows can reach the stocks when they are flows. So the Vensim allows to build the stocks, to create the flows, and to add other auxiliary variables that are connected with arrows. So that was just in particular the stocks are what is the stocks are in the Vensim notation represent the integral, the mathematical description of integrals, and where is flows that represent. So the stocks accumulate what is flowing through the system in over time. Whereas the flow define the differential equations that make the stock change, and then we use intermediate variables called auxiliary or constant converters that help to the model run. Those are the connectors, and those are represent the auxiliary variables. So we will start creating a simple model of a population. This is the basic model we usually create on Vensim to start familiarizing with the software. And as I was saying, it represents an hydraulic metaphor. So the stock is represent the level of the system, and the arrows represent the flows that are entering and exiting the stock. The connectors represent the information flow that connect the variables. So in a causal term, the arrow indicates that population causes, in this case, the variation of deaths, the population causes the variation of births, and that also those fractional birth rates causes the variation of the flows. And it is quite intuitive. In terms of mental model, we can design and draw in a qualitative way this system. If population increase, then birth increase. If birth increase, population increase. But if population increase, then death also increase. And if death increase, population will decrease. We have the seams here that indicates in which sense the causal relation is explicit. In particular, those seams, as I said before, represent correlation, polarity and correlation, which is where is there will represent the causality. If this in first one, this one represents the quantitative and numerical model representation of the population, whereas the below annotation is the stock and flow notation of Vensim, which represents the quantitative part. So we can create first as a choice the population example with one stock and two flows, and creating this on Vensim. So I'll open Vensim. So opening Vensim, you will find in the head menu here the information on file, new model. You can open a new model, and as you open new model, you will get this first widget, which you are asked. Yes, later we'll yeah. You're asked to put an initial time and a final time, which represent when the run begins and ends, and then the time step, which is the interval in which the calculation is performed, and you can use one time unit or a fraction of the time unit. We used to set a time unit sufficiently little in order that calculation are run in a proper interval of time. And the unit could be usually the unit of time. You decide which unit. It could be months for this model, for example. You close, and then you can open. Okay. You will get the Vensim window. In the menu bar, you will have this toolbar, which can allow you to draw the stocks and the flows. This S, clicking this S, you can get a stock, and you can reply what we saw in the picture of the population. So like the stock of population. So if you write just the name population and go back to the end, you will get this population stock. Okay. And you have just to follow your mental model and create the structures you think are in the system. This whiteboard is like your mind representing the system you want to translate, and you create the variables. You can do like editing here, like 18 or 20, so you can see better. Okay, and then the flows. This is after the stock, you have the arrow and the flows. You can add a flow here. You have click on the toolbar, then click in the starting of the arrow, you get cloud, and then you go directly inside the stock. Click, and you get the flow build. Okay. Then you go again. You can go again. Here, I have a depth flow which starts from the population and takes out people from the stock. Okay. You can also select and make it. Okay. Okay, this is the to make the clouds. Is the flow. Okay, this is the toolbar. There's a flow tool. Okay, on the right of the connector, and then you click. One click, then you go inside and click again and get just a matter of time. Okay. And then we can still think, for example, how the population grows. Population grows through births, but how the births are determined. Usually a fraction of the population will cause birth. Okay, so we can have a fractional birth rate to go fast and say say there is a fractional birth rate, which is almost a constant, that so we said that the births depend from the population, so that we think that there is a link among the population and the new births, but how much should that change? A percentage of the population will affect the birth. So this fractional birth rate is connected with, if we go back to the slide, if we have a population of 100 people, a fractional birth rate of 0.4, each year 0.4% of the population will enter the population as a flow. Okay. So we have to put the numbers here, since we said this is a quantitative model. So if we go here in the fx, red fx, and then we go to the stock, we can get a widget with information equations in the model. I went from here, fx, and you increase. I can increase just this. I cannot increase the widgets, but I'll explain. Okay, so f. If we go f, and then we click in the variable, we will get the widget on the variable. Here there is the name, population, and here in this box there is the request of the initial value of the stock, which is the value of the population in this case at the time 0. Okay, let's see. We said 100 people were initially in the population. Okay, and then here is the equation of the stock. The equation is just a description of the relationship among variables, and the variables connected to the same stock are reported here. So just intuitively, what does it make variate the population? The population is equal to what is entering minus what is exiting. Okay, so we have just to write here to connect, let's delete births minus deaths. Okay, and this is everything. Then we can add units, we can add. Okay. And this is part of the population. We can do the same for that. We will have a fractional. I know to explain the flow before. What about the fractional birth rate? We said that since the slide that the fractional birth rate is a constant, and if we open with fx, it asks the value. Okay, we assume that 0.4% of the population, each time unit will enter the flow. So we put here 0.4, and this is the name, and this is the type constant. Okay. Okay. And then we have the third element, which is the flow. How much material has to flow inside? We will have here another equation, fx words. And how can we define this? How can we define this equation? We wrote everything here from our mental model. Birth is equal to population. In this case is time. We said that 40%, 0.4. of the population will enter, will cause an increase of B. So we just connect the variable inside the equation window. So population times the fractional birth rate, which is constant. Is it clear? No. Okay. So population times fractional birth rate. The equation just translates what we told when we draw the system. And the same we can create for the fractional death rate. Fractional death rate, which the value was 0.2. Okay. And the population determined the number of deaths, but the amount of deaths will depend on the fractional death rate. So we create new connections. Usually yes, don't forget to save your model. So yes, save the model. And it's better to save each model in one folder, okay? Because the runs will be saved in the same folder. So this is the name of the model population. Okay. And then the equation of deaths. The same widget, the name, auxiliary variable, the equation, we take the equation from population times fractional death rate. Population times fractional death rate. Okay. Did you get this structure? Okay, this is a basic structure of system dynamics, and we have here a reinforcing loop. Okay, just does not have a role in calculation, but just to notice. And we have a balancing loop here. Okay, if population increase, births increase, population increases. Population increase, that increase, population decrease, that decrease, population increase. Okay, balance. But then, yeah, I get it from comments, yeah, and put here, and I wrote as a comment, and I get this clockwise or counterwise. But this is just a style annotation indication in the calculation, okay, just for fun. But the nice part is that if you go here and run the model with this green arrow, run, seems nothing happened. But if you go to and click on a variable and click on graph, you will get a nice simulation if everything was okay. Did you get the simulation? Yeah. Is that an exponential growth? Yeah. If there is any problem, please ask. Okay. The arrows are like this. But the black one, the blue one. Look one, you take the arrow here, and then you click on a variable and you connect another variable. There is another command here. You can click on view and then show behavior, and you will get the behaviors on the name variable. Okay, you can see that fractional rate is constant, widths increase, population increase, depth increase. It is an exponential growth, so it means that the reinforcing loop is dominating and driving this behavior in the system. It is because the fractional bit rate is higher than the fractional depth rate. So it's like the net bit rate is positive. Okay? If we will have a depth rate higher than the bit rate, we will get an exponential decay. Okay. Everybody got it? This is in the tutorial I sent you. Okay. Let's come back to the presentation. Yeah. Sorry, there's nothing to do. Yes, yes. I forget. We can save. We can click on the variables. If I click on all variables and click here on the tables, we can have, I like more table down, and we can have here all the variables for each time step of the calculation. So for the 100 months, we will get all the data and we can save it and export in Excel, etc. The constants are just reported once, and then the flows and the flows and the stock are reported time step by time step. You have to remember that the most difficult part is to identify stock and flows in the system. What are the stocks? The stocks are the variables that we can identify with the units. Population, heads, replacement rate is not a stock, is a flow. Animals included in the system per month. Okay, animals per year. Okay, the flows are unit divided by. Okay. Let's go ahead and continue with the pasture model. We can have the same model. Okay, the same structure, but more related to our system. Okay, we can have a herd population with birds, sales, death, animal lifetime, etc. Okay, remember that the stock represents the integral equation and the flows, the net change of the stock. Okay, so this is the first part, and let's continue with the second part of the grades in time. Imagine to have a simple with feedback rich system dynamics model, and we want to define the behavior and get insights. So we want to work on a system farm with a simple system dynamics model. We don't have a clear picture on what is happening, but we know we are good nutritionists or good managers. Okay, so we want to model. And we will start modeling, and then let's see. Okay. Let's see in terms of understanding, because the model can help us to understand what will happen. Okay, perception, opinion without data, just perception. You know. So we have a small herd with 105 animals and a grazing land of 180 acres. Okay, which provide this initial pastures. And we have these two populations, or these two structures, which are actually the same. We have an herd population with birds, deaths, and sales of food, and we have pasture that has regeneration, grazing consumption, and senescence use. Okay, it is actually the structure of the prey predator model developed by Lotka Volterra. Okay, but we translate it in a graphical way and we transpose it to a pasture, grazing pasture. So if you want to try to model it, we can recreate the herd population and the animal birds. There are all the information here with the equations. Okay. If you open the model 0, you can open the model 0 or recreate the first part of the model. Meanwhile, I'm explaining. You create firstly the stock, okay, and then the flows, and which is the equation of the stock? It's very intuitive. Is birds minus what is entering minus what is exiting. So birds minus that minus sales. What is the equation of birds? Is population times percentage of natality rate. That's it. Okay. And what is the equation of that? Is population time divided animal life time, which is the same to say times that rate, because if the culling rate is exactly the opposite than the lifetime. So 1 divided lifetime is almost similar to culling. Okay. And what is animal sales? Is animals population times sales fraction. Okay, we can get this number from the experience, from the farm records, or we can even imagine and put some number just to see what the model is creating. Okay. See here, lifetime, 120 months. Okay, so if we go and simulate and create the two models, we can have those two structures that are very similar to what we create. Okay, so open the model 05. What we can see from a management point of view, we started saying that modeling is about thinking in the system, and VENSIM and the model is just matter of language and techniques. Okay, so let's do a little bit of both today, but let's focus on what is the thinking. You can go through the model. We have the two populations, and what we can see that there is no interaction among stocks. Okay, but in the real world there is an interaction. So we are going to build and to develop this interaction. One point that we did not discuss, which is included in the model, is that there is an equation, which is basically a syntax of VENSIM that allow us to create a seasonal forage loss that takes into account the pasture senescence. If you open the model and open seasonal forage loss with the F function, so this is the FT, and go to seasonal forage loss. You can see this graph and the equation, which say if the month of the year is minus than 3 or higher than 9, then take the pasture senescence rate. Otherwise, say 0. It is meaning the loss of forages in the winter, okay, because of the cold. And we give it as a given function within the model, okay, just to be more close to the real grazing system. If we will need more, we can model it, but for now we just put a function. So what are the outputs of the initial model? Okay, you can simulate and see what is the equation, what is the simulation of the pasture. Okay, did you get this trend modeling, simulating with the, how can you simulate here, green arrow? Did you simulate the model? You have questions? Let's open the model 0, so for me. Okay, 0. Okay. We have the pasture model. And here, if you click on the equation, you see that there is a structure for the pasture consumption. And then, did you simulate? You can simulate with this pen. Okay. And you got you can click, sorry, I did too fast. You can click on the variable pasture and go on the graph, and you can get the model. Okay. What is the model predicting? Which kind of behavior is this? Is an exponential growth. Okay, actually, it's combining an oscillation with an exponential growth. The oscillation came from the senescence, and the exponential growth is from the feedback we put among pasture regeneration. Okay. And what is the expected? What is the expected trend in population? If you have a farm and you have replacement and sales, what is the expected trend of your population? Could be constant, stable. Okay, so you can simulate and click the graph and see if the population is constant. Okay, so this is the basic situation. But why are those populations so different? Why herd population is stable while the pasture is increasing exponentially? Because the two populations are not interacting. If we make so it means that the model is not describing with fidelity the system. Okay, they should interact. If I have more grass, I would expect to have the population, the sales growth or the population growth. Okay, so we have no chance in population, and we have seasonality and increasing trend in pasture. So how the two populations interact? Let's pass from the model 0 to the model 0.5. Okay, we can make this. Sorry. We can make this assumption that herd population will affect the grazing consumption. If we have more animals, they will graze more and will eat more grass. And how much is the expected consumption dependent on the expected consumption per animal and the number of population. So if we use we can use the NASIM or each nutritional model to get the expected consumption per animal and put a fixed value here, but then the expected consumption of the herd will have an equation that we could derivate. What could be the expected consumption of the herd? Intuitively is the consumption per animal times the number of the herd population. So you can start writing those variables. Let me open the model. And write expected consumption per herd. And here I can create expected consumption per herd. Okay. And this is a shadow variable, name is time step, is needed to adjust the calculation, because if we have a stock and we have to include we have a stock which is an unit, but we have to report to the values in calculation per time step. We have to include this time step in the formula. This is for the mathematical annotation which is required. So how can grazing consumption affect the expected consumption can affect the grazing consumption? We have to connect the expected consumption, which will affect the consumption. Okay. And then the herd population will affect the expected consumption per herd. Then we said that the expected consumption per animal we can get from literature, and we put 300 was the model was monthly based. Okay, so 10 kilograms per 30 days. Okay, so we get 300 here, and we put the fixed value of constant in the equation, 300. We got the equation with the same procedure. Fx red button, go to the variable and get the widget and put the value of the cost. 300, 10 kilograms per 30 days. Okay. And then let's go to the equation of the expected consumption. Is the expected consumption per animal times the number of animals in the herd, which is the herd population, times or it does not allow me to. Okay. And now the expected consumption will affect the grazing consumption. Okay. We are here, okay? We put the expected consumption per animal, expected consumption per herd, which is equal to expected consumption per animal times herd population. Is it clear? Okay. Then we have this equation here to prove it. And what is the equation of the grazing consumption? We have to make an assumption. If there is if the expected consumption is higher than the availability, the animal will eat the available grass. If the availability is higher, the animal will eat the expected consumption. So we put a function here. You can open the equation of grazing consumption. Function open and write the equation, okay, which is minimum, open parentheses. I'll go to the slide so you can see the equation. Okay, it's written here. Minimum, min, open parentheses, pasture divided time step, because this is a stock, so when we put in the differential equation, we include the time step, minus pasture senescence loss, which is the limiting factor in the intake, or alternatively expected consumption of the end. So take the minimum value among those two, pasture available minus senescence or expected consumption, and we close the equation. Because we cannot avoid pasture senescence loss, and we cannot eat more than the available. Is it clear? Okay, so this is we build a connection among the, this is a connection among the two models. Were you able to simulate? Is the model working? Did you get the simulation? Is different than the previous one? No? Were not able to simulate? Anybody of you? What do you expect from the pasture? That the animal will eat the pasture because it's connected with the herd. Okay. So we will get this trend. Were you able to get this trend? Yeah? Okay, somebody? So the pasture with higher consumption, we will finish. Okay, we'll end with low availability. But the herd in the model is not affected by the pasture because we put values that make the herd population grow without being connected with the pasture. Okay. So we have now a model that is thinking there is a population that keeps stable and a pasture that is grazed and ends its availability. So we need to adjust the thinking in the model and create and get it more close to the reality. Okay. So let's go and create some other loop. Why the pasture why the pasture does finish? Because the pasture regeneration was probably not modeled in a complete part. So if the pasture regeneration is usually affected by herself, if pasture is grazed, then regenerate and grow. And as more growth, the plants will start competing in the land area and will diminish the regeneration. Okay, so we have to create a loop, okay, that is in between the exponential growth and the consumption of pasture from the animals. Okay. in the model you growth, the pasture growth was assumed constant. Okay, and so we're not going to model it, but it's just to make you notice that there are many loops that affect the pasture growth. We have, for example, here the pasture help the pasture regeneration, but the pasture, the the finite land with high biomass availability will decrease or will inhibit the pasture growth. So we will have a reinforcing loop that drives the exponential growth we saw, and then a reinforcing loop, a balancing loop that reduces the amount of pasture available when the grass is ideal. Okay. See here the function. Okay. And you get the model one. And this is the final model as we considered. So the herd population grades. Okay. And depending on the pasture senescence. And the pasture try to grow up and to regenerate based on two main loops. The pasture, if grades regenerate, as mass pasture as mass regenerate, reinforcing loop. If you look at the blue one, we modeled it like the population. Pasture, birds, which is equal to regeneration, and some factor that affect the birth rate. Okay, so this is the structure that drives the exponential growth. And this is the limiting factor. If we have finite land, it will not grow more than that. Okay? What do you expect running the model? That the only interaction is between herd and pasture, not between pasture and herd. So probably the pasture will be affected by the herd. Okay, so we incorporate the behavior of the resource, but we don't have just measure feedback in the herd population. So the herd population still keep constant because we didn't change nothing. But if we look at the pasture, what do you expect? We had at the beginning an exponential growth without animals. And now the pasture is great, but there is a regeneration process. So we expect in between the two runs we saw, okay? And it's like this. Okay, so we have the exponential growth if the pasture is not great. We have the exponential decay if the pasture no, open the model one. The model one, yeah. Close this model and open the model. Because we did not include this. It was just yes, run the model. Open the sorry, yes, I did not stop. When we are here, okay, we are here. So close the model 0.5. Which was just an exercise to get you familiarized with this, and open the model one, which has completely what we included and some additional part. Okay. So if we run this model one, I was too fast. Thanks. Everybody got the model one? Okay. We simulate and we have the herd population, which we did not change it. And then we have, you simulate and we have the previous run, when the pasture was growing unaffected, ungrazed. And then we have the pasture without regeneration, just grazed. Okay. And then we have the interaction between herd and pasture. Okay. But the herd population still does not change. Okay. Why doesn't it change? Because we didn't close the loop. Okay, so what is missing? How can we connect the pasture with the herd? This is nothing. This has nothing to do with modeling. It's related to farming management. Okay. What is the main factor that affects the herd population, or which variable of the herd population is affected by the pasture? Are the birds, the deaths, the sales? If you want to manage the farm, which kind of variable would you regulate? Then, the sales, maybe the sales, hopefully the sales. If sales remain constant, the pasture just decide birds and deaths, we are not gaining. Okay, so the idea is to use resources, to optimize resources, which is the grass, and in order to get more profit, which comes from sales. So we need to, we say in system dynamics, close the loop. So we have an open loop here, and we have to relate pasture with sales. Okay. How to close the loop? We can have a discussion with experts, with technicians, and say, what is the main factor that we use to regulate the sale? Or what could be the indicator for the farmer to regulate the sales? For example, could be the stocking rate. What is the stocking rate? Is the food available per animal? And we have both variables here to calculate the partial indicator. The stocking rate is a partial indicator. Animal per unit of land. But land, in our case, is biomass availability. So we can say feed per animal, okay, which is the variable more related with the stocking rate in this case, and varying over time and related to the environment, to the climate, to the land management, and stuff. So we can calculate these variables. I suggest you to open the model, you close the model one, and no, to add to the model one, sorry, those variables in order to get model two. If you are familiar. So add to the model one this food available per animal and connect with the errors. I can add one. One, okay. We are here with the model one, and then we have to calculate the missing value. We started from the food available. Okay. and then we connect the food available, the pasture, not food available, the feed available. Which depends from pasture and air population. Take the blue arrow, click, click, click. And this variable, what is the equation of this variable? We open the function and we find here the connected variable, the pasture divided herd. Okay. Then let's come back to the mental model. How can the feed available per animal impact on sales? If there is a high consumption, then the feed available will be low. Okay. If there is low consumption, so low stocking rate, the feed available will be high. So we have a sort of, we can ideate a sort of indicator of the pasture stress, which is the interaction among the availability and the consumption rate. Okay. And it condensates, think that we are in our mental model. It condensates the idea of the farmer that goes to the farm and says the grass consuming. Okay, I'm gonna have low amount of grass, so let's sell more animal, or there will be high availability. Let's keep the animal. Okay. So we can create this relative pasture stress which depends from the expected consumption and the full of the feed available per animal. Okay. Go back to the model and create step by step all the variables, which is relative pasture stress, and which depend from the biomass available and the expected consumption per animal. But then I want this, my indicator, you can name the indicator terms, has to affect the sales. So effect of feed available on sales. Then the managerial effect will go affect sales, but there is another very difficult element. The time. Okay. How much frequently the farmer will check on the pasture availability, on sales. It depends. It just became the stock and by the soil if plan more frequently. So there is a variable that we need to include to the model, which is we used to call this variable adjustment time. Okay. So we put a variable here that is the adjustment time. That is we call adjustment time because it is the usual notation, but could be also called like frequency to check the pasture availability. Okay. The good I found in the system dynamic models that we build models with the same variables we use in the farm, or with the technician, or with the farm. So when we show some graphical draw, it is very interactive and we can communicate very easily. And it's the same with a farmer, with a policymaker, with a ministry, or a professor. Okay, this is a communicative power of the system. So let's put the adjusting time here. Adjusting time on feed available. The model, but it's gonna affect the sales fraction. Okay. Okay with this reasoning? So we have to put the equations. Okay, this is the detail. Okay. Feed available per animal, relative pass to stress, effect of feed availability on sales, adjustment time for sales based on feed availability. Okay. And this is the equation for actual sales fraction. Okay, how can we determine the sales? The normal sales divided by adjustment time for sales was based on feed availability, because the amount of sales fraction will depend on the frequency we'll check on. And then we have this multiplying effect, which is the effect of the feed availability on sales. Remember the model? We have if there is a normal sales fraction which affects the amount of herd which we want to sell. Remember that this structure is the same of the deaths. And population affect the number of sales affected by a fractional percentage. Okay, this fractional percentage depends of a current sales portion and an adjusted portion based on the feed availability, which depends on the effect of we want to have on the feed availability. So we can put here that each month we check on the feed availability. So this value is just 1. Okay, go back to the model. Go here, take the function, adjusting time. I want to check every month, 1 month. Okay. And then I have to go to the effect of feed availability sales and open the equation. And I assume that this is equal to the relative pasture stress. Okay. So the impression I have from the relative pasture stress, this is the effect I put on the sales. It just direct proportion, 1 to 1. Okay. And then the critical point is here. How is relative pasture stress related with both? We have here no, sorry. When on the effect of food availability of sales, Okay, we use a specific notation of VANCs. We use what is called with lookup. Okay, we're assuming, I said that we assume a direct proportion, okay, of feed availability on sales, but really we can create a function, a proportional function. So when the pass-through stress is high, we sell more. When the pass-through stress is low, we sell less. Okay, so we can use this function, which is called lookup. So open the equation and check here, type lookup. No, sorry, auxiliary and subtype with lookup. Okay, and lookup we define as a table, which is as a graph. And then give us the opportunity to draw some relationship, which is the translation of this perception. And in this table, I'll open the presentation and see. When the relative pressure is, the index is 0, which is the direct proportion among feed and expected consumption. When the feed is equal to the expected consumption, we have 1. Okay, so when the value is 0, the effect on sales is 5. Okay, you can write in the table. When the feed available is 9 times the expected consumption, we have the effect of sale is 0.9, and when the input is 18 times, we have 0.05. Okay, so when we have 18 times the feed available in respect to expected consumption, we barely don't sell animals. Okay, and when feed availability is 0, we sell 5 times the animals we usually sell, and we have this trend. This is the x-axis and this is the y-axis. It is it's time. 5 is 500%, because then we multiply in the other equation. Okay. There is the dimensionless constant are usually ratio. Okay, that becomes okay. Oh. So here it was 0, 18, 5. 0.5, no, 9, 0.9, and 0.05. Okay, see, you can add more points by. Okay. Yeah. Yes. The equation on the actual sale fraction was the normal sale fraction divided the effect of feed available on sales. No. Sorry, divided the adjusting time feed available on sales. Was a parenthesis times the effect feed available on sales. So this one. Okay. normal sales fractions divide adjustment time by for sales based on feed availability times the effect of feed availability on sales. That okay? You get those, you can, we did all the reasoning, so you can open the model 2. Okay. So I know it's difficult because you have to do two things. One create and one. Yes, we are. It just to simulate now the model 2. We edited the model 2, and I want to explain just a little brief concept. What we created with the adjustment time is called a delay. Okay, the system takes time to decide. Okay, and those are called information delays. So the farmer looks every month to the pasture availability and then decide. And this time is, and this perception takes time to adjust the system. And it creates that the meanwhile, the cows are grazing. Okay, and it creates accumulation. And accumulation creates inertia. And the inertia creates then effects and oscillation on the system. And information delays are what, just to explain, is what's happened when a person tries to learn how to go to run a bicycle, a kid. Okay, so they learn from a big adjustment and then little adjustment, then to going straight. Okay, so this is the effect of the information delay in our mind. Information delay are very powerful. Okay, they can tell the police that you're drunk before that. It's the same mechanism. Okay, and is a managerial mechanism that creates the oscillation in the inventories of the farms, of the fields. Okay. So run the model 2. If you run the model 2, you will get no differences or there's very few differences in the pasture because we closed the loop. So we added the effect of the pasture to the herd, but we expect an effect of on the herd. And how is this effect? What do you expect in the herd? We had a stable level, and now we expect that the pasture affected the herd. So we expect that the herd oscillate. Okay. So this was the pasture without herd, and it was the herd without pasture. And this is the pasture being grazed, the orange, and then the green is the pasture grazed with the loop on the opposite. This is the effect of the pasture availability on the herd. And from where is coming the oscillation? Because the oscillation, where does it come? Is the effect on this variable, that the interaction among the pasture availability and the amount of cattle, so the stocking rate creates oscillation in the consumption based on the seasonal forage loss. And it propagates between the feed availability on sales and then propagates on the actual sales fraction until you get the oscillation in our profitability. Okay. You can run the model 2 with a change. Okay, let's assume that you respond with a delay, with a longer delay. So instead 1 month, you check the grass in 4 months. So change the adjustment time in model 2 and put 4. And look what you get. The graphs. Those are the last slides. you have a tool here, it's named synthesing. You can run the red arrow, and you get the opportunity to move all the indicators. Okay. Instead of 1 month, we use 2 months, 3 months, see what's happening. Okay. This is the managerial effect. See, if I increase the number of months, my sale fraction will decrease. Okay. If I increase the time I check the pasture, I'll have to sell more anymore because I'll go out of grass. Okay. So this is how the model can tell us how to manage the farm, but it is not the software, it is our mental idea of the pasture and the interaction. You can do the same with a drought scenario and idealize a drought scenario for the grass and see what's happened. But this is my last slide. I want to remember you this, that we can have other managerial effect, other managerial part, acquisition of new properties, expansion, etc. But in each model, when you create loops that goes exponentially, you are creating not sustainable environment. When you create goal-seeking behavior, you create when you create goal-seeking behavior, then you will have not going down, not going back. When you create goal-seeking behavior, you will have more resilient and sustainable trends or patterns. Okay.